Testing.
This thing is pretty cool.
Can I pull on this, or is it?
Cheat. We'll do the cheat.
What are you about being late?
It's all good.
I apologize.
We're going with it. We're going with it.
Okay.
There's really bad service here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's just like.
So do you, yeah.
There's a guest.
Do you want to record to the SD card?
Yeah. Yeah, it is recording the SD card.
It is?
It's whatever's in there.
Can we clear what's on there?
We'd have to stop the stream.
If we have an amazing episode tonight, Mafia Man, John Durant. He's a former guest. This can comment on YouTube, and maybe we'll Spokane CrossFit. Thank you guys, and then I won't party with you because I'm 17th. I think those are the dates. I could be wrong. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Portland, Oregon. The week after that, the Comedy Cellar in Las Vegas, and then Reno, the Laugh Factory, and then South Lake Tahoe. So get your tickets at eddyift.com. They're all there. Big date, big important date, though. November 4th, the Comedy Store on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. We're doing the Comedy Wipeout. It's a benefit to Save the Waves Coalition. It's for the coastal environment. I got Lachlan on it. You know, Lachlan Patterson, Joe Prano, Steve-O from Jackass is on the show. We've got Monty Franklin from The Real Girl and the Rob Schneider show on Netflix. We've got Moshe Kasher, who had his own show on Comedy Central. We've got Chad Goes Deep. We've got everyone. Come out and see the show. Tickets are only $20, I believe, at eddyift.com/comedy wipeout. Just go to eddyift.com or go to the Comedy Store site. That's November 4th. Get your tickets. Come out and see it. It should be fun. And thank you for supporting the show. You can watch us, on Patreon. $3, I think, gets you all the video episodes. And $5 gets you into the raffle. Not raffle. We're not even allowed to say raffle. Drawing, whatever it is, to get a Myopux. That's right, which is an electronic muscle stimulator and a TENS device. It's got both. I just hooked Crazy Bobby up to one because he broke his foot. And John Durant gets one now. You get one of these. How about that?
All right.
You're going to hook yourself up. It's going to flush all of the waste out of your body. I wish I could just hook it up to my liver and see if it would flush out all the tequila. Foam on it first, which lubes it up, and then it goes. There's two different ones, and you can put like one on each leg. I don't know, but it works amazing. So, and thank you to Myopux. I hope I got your name right. Congratulations. Our last but not least, I want to.
You should apply to QVC.
I really should. You take this webbing, you put your waist 2 seconds to blow up, and it's got a little pouch in here where you can. If you use this in a pool, is this a lot because I swim in like waving my arm. So they have the CrossFit Games has had swimming since 2011, and you don't want to exit the water dead last. So if you're a competitor in CrossFit, you're going to have to get your open water swimming. You're going to have to figure it out. So get one of these. It's it's. I can tell you this too. Panic sometimes. People panic when they're open water swimming and they start to hyperventilate and they don't realize what's going on and they freak the fuck out. You're going to be happy you've got this with you because you can hold on to it instead of going into a little bit of drowning mode.
It attracts dolphins too.
Yeah, it does.
Dolphins will swim around you and protect you.
Protect you and try to mate with you.
And you can draft in their wake and go faster.
True, and you can make you might be able to make a dolphin, half human, half dolphin with them.
Amazing.
I always wanted to make a movie called Dolphark, where it was a half dolphin, half shark.
Yeah.
And it had the brains of a dolphin, but the brawn. But back to New Wave Swim Buoy. Listen, here's the deal. They gave us a ton of stuff to tell you, but I told you everything. And they're going to yell at me about this, but I think I sold it better than they could have sold it. It's amazing. It's get your New Wave Swim Buoy. It's if you're in all swim buoys, BUOYS, use promo code WODcast1 for 10% off your next purchase. And go online. Just look. Go on YouTube. Anything. Everybody's using them. So don't I don't want to be a pussy. No, you need this. Get this. It'll save your life.
You can use it on land too.
Yeah.
I mean,
you could have a pillow fight.
Yeah.
Is my guest today. So let's get to John Durant. Welcome everybody to the WODcast podcast. I am your host Eddie Ift. I'm here with Mr. Paleo. That's I don't know. You seem like you're more than paleo now. You're a businessman. You're everything.
I've moved behind the scenes a little bit.
If you've never heard of John Durant, well, it's not your fault, but he is a New York Times bestseller. Wrote a book called the Paleo Manifesto, which I have, which I found incredibly interesting. You've been on the show before.
Yep.
I can't believe we didn't have you again even sooner.
It was a blast last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the Instagram page, what happened? He basically family commitments. It was becoming too much of a burden, too much time. He loves the show. He loves everyone there. And he's doing his own show now called The Sisu Way, which is more up his alley than the direction we're going in. So he does The Sisu Way, and you can go find that on iTunes and listen to it. And he didn't go away. He didn't die. And he still, wants all of you guys to come over there and listen to him. So go listen to Scott, and so it's impossible to find him. You were in Austin, weren't you?
I did 3 months there.
Oh,
I lived in New York for 10 years, got sick of it, left without knowing where I was going to move, did 3 or 4 months in Austin. It was great. But then I was starting a venture fund, which is my primary gig now,
Right.
Wild Ventures, and it just made sense to be in L.A. L.A. is, health and fitness central. They have a really good food and beverage scene here. It's an easy flight up to SF for tech deals. And then one of my portfolio companies, Thrive.
John's been on the show before. I don't want to go back over everything we went over, but we should touch upon some of the things we touched upon. But he also, we are an affiliate of Thrive Market. I always tell everybody, go onto our website, click the Thrive Market, sign up. I think it's like $100 a year to join.
No, it's
from beef jerky to...
Yeah, beef jerky to Primal Kitchen mayo to nut seeds, honey.
Primal Kitchen mayo is the most amazing thing in the world.
I basically didn't used to eat mayo because it was sort of like the unhealthy, absolutely
delicious. And I make for my daughter. She loves Shake Shack sauce, so I'll mix Primal Kitchen mayo with paleo ketchup and mustard, and then paprika and red pepper or cayenne pepper, and a little bit of like a relish, and that's pretty much Shake Shack sauce.
Wow.
And my daughter just eats buffalo burgers, bison burgers, like.
And is that sort of like a Thousand Island?
Yeah, that's what it is, but that's their sauce.
Yeah.
That's the mayo and all that. But
mix it all together.
People get mad because they're like, "Oh, In-N-Out's the best." Fuck off with your In-N-Out. Seriously.
Yeah, it's really good.
It is,
but it's not the best ever.
It's overrated.
Cassell's is even better.
Where is this Cassell's place?
There's one in Koreatown in L.A. And they just opened one downtown L.A. and there's one in Terminal 1 at LAX.
Okay, I knew it had to be good because Machete knew about it.
Yeah, the patty melt is one of the best in the country. It's like nationally renowned patty melt.
You walked in with that shirt and Machete's like, "Yo,
respect."
Yeah. He knows every good place to get anything. Like he said to me one time, my daughter goes to school at this one place, and he's like, "You haven't been to Bay Cities?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "What are you, an idiot? Like, you got to go get the sub there, man. You got to get the Italian hoagie.
Get your life together."
The Godmother. Yeah, I had it. It is the best Italian sub I've ever had, but I don't like subs, so.
But I don't like Italians.
It was
so.
yeah. I don't just not like. I hate Italians. No, so it was. It's good if you like that. I get you.
If you like that kind of thing.
It's the best of the worst thing. And no. So I want to get back to so Thrive. We were an affiliate of. And then, just when I was talking to you yesterday, I went on your website, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing with Thrive? So you can kind of explain what you guys do.
Yeah, I mean, so the backstory going to before Thrive is, so I was in New York. I launched my first book.
Pin him down. Hunter McIntyre told me that guy is impossible.
This podcast, right after the podcast was over, he said, I want you to read a manuscript of a draft and give me your opinion on it. And I gave him his opinion. I gave him my opinion and was basically like, this is not a good manuscript. This is crap.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, it was talking about all this paleo. And, but his core method was there and his stories were there, but the execution was poor. So I said, we need to bring you to life and Spartan to life because there's so much material there,
Right.
but it's not being brought forward.
Did
So
you?
I'm really excited to do it.
He's just an amazing.
He's
person,
amazing,
I've heard.
and he responds to emails, so
Uh-huh.
many emails so quickly. He knows everybody.
I think successful people are like that. Jimmy Kimmel used to be like that, where he might still be, but we used to have the same manager, and we would talk every once in a while. And I would email him, and it would be 5 minutes before showtime, and it would get zapped back with like a one-line answer, and I'm like, how are you able to
Yeah.
answer emails all the
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
So I think
Desane is a madman. Well, some people are out there and they sort of pretend to be tough or whatever. That guy's legit. He's a complete bulldog. He is.
The
Yeah.
guy-
Well, 1 week he's in Singapore, the
Yeah.
next week he's in Beijing, then he's in Vermont at his HQ. Running, doing some race, and then he's in Death Valley, and
That's
and then he's at
hilarious.
Branson's Island, and he's all over the place.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
He's done. I mean, in this whole exercise kind of fitness world, the guy's done something incredible. It's like the guys like Glassman or the guy that created the Iron Man, the Spartan races. Whoever
Look at militaries
the
around the
Wolverhampton thing,
world.
yeah.
The tough guy.
Yeah.
But if you want climbing ropes and going
Right,
in the mud
right,
and
right.
whatever, if you want to look at like hunter-gatherer shoulders and whatever, so the roots of this, and even the Olympics were these sort of latest. I actually don't know what the sales totals are. It hit the list and
Right.
it has done really well, but I'm not
I
sure.
just would assume that Machete just left us, and we're just recording because we were late today. The bingo bus broke down.
Yeah, they've got a huge platform.
all my friends that do Ironman are
Yeah.
always like, they want to buy everything, the shirt, then for people.
Yeah.
Where they're like, I want to be like this, like the WODcast. So get your T-shirt for the WODcast podcast at WODcastPodcast.com. WODcastPodcast.com. I talk so fast sometimes to try to get all the information in that I haste. It's the morning radio show on K-Rock. And I was promoting my comedy Wipeout show that we're doing on Sunday. And Waze said it'll be plugged in at a certain time. And they've got like Anthony Kiedis coming in next, so it's like training. And I just started doing my breathing that Brian McKenzie had me do.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And
We need to get you a helicopter.
I would.
We need to.
Bill Burr,
Yeah.
Canadian Bill Burr has a
Yeah.
helicopter. Oh, he doesn't have one. He uses them. I would love that more than anything in the world, because I don't know if I've told this story on here. I was late one time for a gig, back up through the 101 because I live up in the hills of Malibu. So I go out the 101. I'm like, I'm never gonna make this flight. I don't make the flight. I don't get the gig. I don't do the gig. I don't do the gig. I don't get paid. And I'm out. They reimburse me for my flights. I'm like, I'm so screwed. How much would it cost me to fly there private if I just went? Would I lose all the money, or like how half?
Right.
I'm trying to figure out how much, and I'm like, no, I wouldn't make enough to even pay for the flight. So then I'm like, wait a minute, New York City to take a flight, and I'm like, that's worth it.
Yeah.
So I look up Van Nuys Airport, the private airport. Sure enough, they have a helicopter that goes. Call them. I go, I need to take a helicopter, and the guy goes, when would you like to make your reservation for? I go, I can be there in 5 minutes. I will be. Waze says I'll be there in. Yeah. What? Like,
Heard the blades.
and I was like, and I'm like, what do you mean? I got to go now trip. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is worth it. I'm not going to miss the gig.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, you're an idiot. And he really was like upset that I thought I could. And as soon as he said it to me, it woke me up to like, you're an idiot. Like, why did I think?
I just love that you said start the blades. Start the blades.
Get to the chopper.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean,
I found that everything's negotiable, and you can usually talk people into everything. I talked my way, like taxiing. I believe this. I forget if this was after 9/11 or before 9/11, but it was like last flight of the day. I was gonna have to like stay overnight in some like hick town somewhere, and I was like, oh, I gotta get home. I'd been touring for a while. I ran down the steps onto the. What are you doing? And I'm like, yeah, that's my plane. Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, what are you can't go through that. And everybody, I got to get home. I've been on the road. And the next thing I know, I'm on the plane. Wow. They got me on the plane. And I remember they then started talking to the pilot through a phone, the phone at the gate. And I heard the gate attendant say this. I've got a crazy man here.
Yeah. Let's get him on this.
After they called me the crazy man, the pilot's like, yeah, let him on.
Yeah.
Let him
want
on.
that guy on the plane.
So
I pulled one of those. It wasn't quite back. And I saw, I just looked really pathetic, and I put my ticket up on the window and my passport, and I got down on my knees and I was begging. And so, after a couple minutes of this, I saw one of the pilots' window, and I'm like, yeah, and they're like, it's your lucky day.
Oh.
So they brought me on. Obviously, everybody's already seated on the plane. I go almost all the way back to where my seat is. I sit, I'm sweating to know where I was gambling.
You have
that was going to be the spot.
People are so weird, and everybody that goes to I'll be there November Thanksgiving weekend. I got to be stuck in Las Vegas, but I'm at the Comedy Cellar, which is great. So, how did you go from writing the book to? Did you always want to do this, like venture capital stuff?
No, definitely not. I got to say this too, because you guys always bother me, you Harvard types.
John went to Harvard, and it's like once you do that, I never realized as a kid you work so hard to get into somewhere like Harvard, because then the rest of your life you have there's probably a lot of expectations, but there's also it opens a lot of doors. It's people. I know about 3 or 4 comedians that have gone to Harvard, and every single one of them is super successful.
Yeah.
And granted, that's probably because, A, they're super intelligent, they work really hard, but there is also this, we went to fucking Harvard.
Yeah, I'm just yada, yada, yada. They select for, people who have done really well on their test scores or who have done really interesting stuff in their personal life. And probably a lot of those people
where they go, drugs and alcohol ruined their life. I contend that they were going to ruin their life no matter what. Like Whitney Houston died from drugs and alcohol. Whitney, it could have been food, it could have been sex, it could have been whatever it would be. Some people just have that in them. So
and it's not that there are benefits to going there. And suddenly, you need an introduction at this company, somebody who's there. And it's easier to get that first interview if you're applying somewhere. It gets people to think.
I would think so.
But like this, I sort of shifted to prehistory in what I studied, but it wasn't related to diet or nutrition. But it made me realize that evolution is this really powerful framework to understand.
Like that afterwards.
I didn't have a good idea. A lot of people from Ivy League or top schools will end up doing sort of risk-averse career.
Did you see the article in The Atlantic about the 30-year reunion?
No.
There's a good article. It was out in the lawsuit that's going on right now. And he was saying, in the beginning, and there was a large predominance of same as Asians are now.
Right.
And so Harvard wanted to create diversity.
Right.
And so they wanted a diversification of ideas and like cross-pollination and all these things,
background.
Which fits performance. If it's a 100-meter dash, and say, hey, here's the start. I'm very upset when people say in casting, well, you have to have so much of this, or do I have to cast Indian people? Like this is about the mafia.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get on the transgender issue at all. Have a transgender play a transgender. I'm like, it's acting. Never understand that. But I get what Harvard's doing. But it mentioned their family went to school there, but they said that allows Harvard to be what it.
Yeah, probably saying this is about the percentage of Asians that we want.
Yeah,
and my guess is they find ways to arrive at trouble if they put it down on paper. So I'm actually sort of critical of Harvard in that regard. Mm-hmm. I understand their need for there to be balance of people with different backgrounds, and I agree that that's good. Students, Asian American students, is much higher.
Yep.
I think it's over 50%. And if you look at who's really good at engineering.
Right. I mean, if you're going to do it as far as like engineering, I'm going to go, hey, I don't give a shit, how well you play the violin.
Right.
I want you to score well in your SATs. And
and good recs and stuff like that. I do think my interview really helped, where who was a Harvard alum, about race, whether there was self-segregation at the school that I went to. Everything was, roses and sweet and perfect.
Right.
But a lot of them would just eat together every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was also a table, I grew up in an affluent suburb. There was also a table of white students who came economic. So I actually thought that the division.
It's so funny you say this. I'm writing a joke about this right now. The premise of the joke is that we are not, where Pittsburgh's generally known as a very racist town and primarily white. And I used to give him shit about it, and he'd be like, "No one ever applies. Why are you giving me shit?" And I was like, because it's just, I always felt like it was wrong. And rich guys or women.
Right.
And I realized they're accepted the same as, and you hear people that are wealthy, and I don't want to use my Appalachia white meth heads who are robbing you.
Untangling class from the racial. Notice it more when they run along racial lines.
Because I was 2 years ago.
It's basically like, oh, I'm not racist. I'm just.
I'm sitting at Thanksgiving dinner, a couple of daughter, and I look at the table next to us. I mean, this used to be all white. I mean, table next to us is an entire table, big table. Hope that didn't turn off. And I had never seen that at that club. And so he's a very nice person. He's a member here. He's a doctor. And my dad was like, they're just this other thing that's equally as bad.
Halloween. So don't do anything offensive on Halloween.
I can't wait. I was on the radio this morning, and they were talking about how I'm afraid of fucking everyone, the lynch. I could do a whole show on my arguments with friends of mine about that, to get, what's his name, Steamboat Willie or whatever his name. They got to get him off there.
Oh, don't they portray English have been your colonial overlords for a few hundred years?
Yes, and so
still don't have independence.
So we have been marginalized. I think so much of this shit.
You can call it stepping on a rake.
We decided before you and I disagree. Movements going on is opportunity.
It's opportunism. There's definitely a career element. Is that one of the ways to get ahead in this world is to out PC someone else, to do the holier than thou thing.
Yep.
And that can be
the virtue signaling.
The virtue signaling, and you can just go viral. People are like, "Oh, that went viral." Virality is like a mob in real time.
Yep.
It suddenly treats someone on the other end of that like a human. It's just this like anonymous avatar that you're attacking as a symbol of something that you hate or think is wrong. Down the virality or something like that.
I think everybody in this last couple years has realized that it's unreality. I've noticed with what's happened to me in my life that all I have to do is play a victim and let everybody run to my side. I made a joke one time about the male. I found out the male was the pit bull and the Frenchie was the female. Did like 4 protein shakes.
Those are steroids.
And then like, bring on the Yorkie. A guy got so upset because I guess like his wife or girlfriend that was with him had been a victim of rape. And I was at my merch table after the show, and he flipped it over and like started screaming like dog mating.
Right.
And that trigger, that word. So he stormed off, and then he posted, "Fans come to my rescue." And at one point I thought, I should just delete this because I'm indulging this. This is ridiculous. Like, this guy, his wife experienced a girlfriend, I don't know what it was, and I just assumed. And now I'm letting this shit go back and forth so that I, to stroke my ego. And at a certain point, it was making me more and more popular.
Right. Yep.
But at the same time, I was like, this isn't good. This is a bad. This guy and I should have had a conversation. And he should have said, "Hey, man, can I talk back to the way you handled this and the way you talked to me?" And I didn't realize that could have hurt your feelings. And I'm gonna rethink. I might not tell that joke anymore because I didn't don't take it personally. It has nothing to do with you, which is how I usually feel. And we might have a beer and come to an agreement and go, all right, well, don't come to my show.
Well, and yeah, people don't they're not people anymore. They represent some ideology or some symbol, and they're the
Now there's so many times where I get heat and I go, what they want, like, that's how Trump runs his page.
And I've paleo figure full time coming out with a book. The controversy stuff would sell better because it would get. And while I still have disagreements, now that I'm investing in companies and helping them succeed, I want to build alliances.
Right.
And if there's a company,
Environmentalism is inclusiveness, and he said the Black Panthers into his movement, because if you let him in, you mean Chris Kresser and
Joel
vegetables. And the argument about, I believe that both those guys with their diets are going to put out which one is better. I'm going to side with Chris Kresser.
Yeah,
obviously.
same.
And I believe that his argument, I believe he won that argument. He was talking about, I'd say it's like if they were in a Venn diagram, they were overlapping on so much of what they both agree on, or whatever, hemp or whatever.
The founder of Whole Foods, who's a vegan himself, and the optimal diet that he defended was not 100% vegan. He's like, the diet that I actually think, or that in that moment from the start, because that's much harder for me to criticize.
Interesting.
Than 100%. But then he's like 5% really high quality, whatever, and I'm like, oh fuck.
Well, let me ask you then. Talking about that, because you're like super paleo. I've probably been eating paleo for about 10 years, maybe even a little longer, and I'm not ketogenic, but I'm eating way more fat, a lot of protein. I'm still eating tons of vegetables.
Yeah.
But I'm really problems.
As I get older, the carbs are harder to tolerate, and it really is dependent on how much I've been working out. If I have a busy week at work, there's so many like paleo processed foods out there now.
I'm noticing
that are like the paleo baking, where it's not just about the ingredients. It's about, are these whole foods? Are you eating them in the right quantities?
Right.
Like, if you have like
just because it was paleo, I justified it.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then my friend Dylan, who is on the show a lot, who's really smart about nutrition, was like, look, he's like, you're like a 12-year-old sitting down with a bowl, like 12 bowls of cereal, and it's pretty low in sugar. And now, I mean, I'm trying to stay off, like, keep it below, like. There was someone I wanted to, who asked that question. Somebody wanted to know about how you felt about the carnivore. Our Gordon Wagner, who's like the biggest fan of the show. He's always.
I can tell you my views on it in terms of overall experience on it. I found it to be very pretty quickly, because fat and protein are so satiating.
Yeah.
I would eat mostly either fat intake.
What happens with the salt?
Salt, I found over time. Once
I that's one of those things where I feel so limited now.
Right.
That if you said to me, all you get
grass-fed ribeye, medium rare, with melted butter, still tastes fucking. Everything tasted great. Like, I sort of got sick of chicken.
Sometimes I'll just I'll grill up. Feel like I could eat that every day.
Yeah.
If I needed to.
So, all right. So I lost weight pretty quickly, and I wasn't optimizing for that.
Yeah, I don't think you could. I that's where I draw the line in this, and even I see how that works. There are people that say they do it and they're fat adaptive, and I do.
Well, and being fat adapted can work for lower intensity like cardio stuff.
Yeah.
But my biggest drawback that I noticed.
Yeah.
Lower libido. It has more to do, I don't know, caloric deficit. Like, I probably wasn't eating enough calories because it felt so satiated. I was probably
start eating less.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, oh, I'm going to cut out half these foods. Well, of course, you're just not going to put double the amount of the other food in. So you go into caloric deficit, which is going to cause a weight loss. And once me, I'm married, and it just goes away.
Shout out to the little lady.
Yeah. Hi, Lauren. Yeah.
So, and that's just
wrote that book. You're now like, that has to be you.
Oh, I mean, I am the caveman. Like, that became my identity for a decade.
Wow.
Oh
my God, that would
everything.
That would be the fucking worst.
Yeah.
The worst.
Like, hit her over the head with a club, and
okay.
And it's like,
yeah, that's all you know about.
Yeah. It's like the Flintstones jokes. That too. I'd love to make some FU money
Yeah.
explicitly.
They said that in this article, the Harvard thing. They were saying money doesn't make people happy, but
Scientists who I trust, their review of the literature is money makes most people happier.
WODcast podcast and donate now.
Buy your new wave.
Yeah. Or your myopox. Shit.
So I got tired of being a guru to deal with any of that, and just worked on building companies that we wanted to see in the world.
Well, it's great. What you're doing, thing I wish I had the ability to do, because I always get behind a company that is doing something that I feel like there's passion in it, they believe in it, they're great, and I'm like rah, and you're almost not just you're now taking them.
So some of the companies we've invested in are Thrive Market, Primal Kitchen, Kettle and Fire Bone Broth, Beekeeper's Natural from bee microorganisms to keep it from getting the honey. Honey's one of these products that basically is a way to keep fungus away and bacteria.
I buy my honey at the farmer's market, like the natural
Yeah.
honey, and put it in everything. I think it helps with the immune system and everything.
Yeah. So this spray is now, I keep one in my backpack, I keep one in my medicine cabinet, I keep one at work. Anytime I'm traveling, before I get on the flight, spray my throat afterwards. It is a lifesaver.
Our newest sponsor.
Amazing.
And here's what happened. Dylan came on the show. Reasons that we sell on here, I have to believe in, or people come to me and they're like, duh, and I'm like, and some of them I struggle with, and then they'll be like, try it or do this. So they reached out to us about, the protein. Get that fucking away from me. And he's like, no, take it. And I was like, I don't. It's not a fluke. Everything's science with him.
Right.
And I tasted it. I'm like, oh, tastes amazing. It's just the same as.
Yeah, and when you crickets, grasshoppers, and locusts are considered kosher, in the Bible or in the Hebrew Bible. So there are and those are species that eat plants. They're not ones that eat like so, and each deal's a little different. Like, people will only come in on deals that they really believe in, and if it's not a good fit for their platform, they don't come in, because I don't want them in. I don't want to twist someone's.
Kelly Starrett or one of these guys. It's one of the great research these things, so I have people I trust, and it's just printing out a computer sheet. That's
and is getting paid by pharmaceutical companies and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So yes, so we it has to be something that we believe is healthy and will help people. They're mediated by anything. It's usually higher margin and better cash flow, which is good for the founders. In food and beverage, we shoot for $100 million plus exits. If we do a tech deal, we want to see $500 million plus potential.
Wow.
Because
I feel like a lot of these companies, the problem is that because you're not going to make your margins, and it's going to be difficult. I've seen a lot of places open and close in the CrossFit world. A lot of people there's too many people willing to make things cheap, make it cheaper, and profitable.
I think we're turning a corner with highest quality sourcing, paying attention to environmental effects, and they have good one.
Wow. Because I didn't know there are that many out there. I was just like, well, I might as well just make with bone broth. My wife does it when she does make soup. It's got bone broth in it, but
and to be much more comfortable to offer discounts because their prices aren't shown retail.
Here's another one of my fears. We're in a bull market. Well, there's a correction the past couple of days. I don't know how the market did today, but takes a dive in the next couple of years just because it's a natural
it's a
cycle.
Cyclical.
It's gonna happen.
Right.
And when it
into the food and beverage space and the CPG space over the last 5 years, absolutely a lot of them are gonna fold. Not necessarily. It's not gonna be there's the Fed has printed a lot of money, and there could easily be a downturn at some point. And
hey, your cookies are really good. We got some extra money.
Right.
Let's see if we can sell those.
Yeah.
And
Well, here's what I would recommend to a lot of those entrepreneurs, if they are on the edge, is higher margin. They can get people on subscription. Whereas if you are always beholden to, to big and they base a lot, few of them basically have like monopoly type situations.
Yeah.
Charge enough. And because they think, oh, well, I'm just getting started and I increase prices later, or we'll get scale later on, and so our costs will come down or whatever. Wrong value it that much, and it's much easier to lower prices than it is to raise them.
Yeah.
Like you set it that level, and you're like, oh, now it's cheaper, and people are like, oh, it's a bar. Angry at you for that.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, they give you the finger, and they'll be like, I'm not buying from you
I
anymore.
learned that from ticket sales to my shows.
Yeah.
I want to talk. It's so funny, coincidental that you're here. You are an investor in this company.
Technically
back
to the
into
current ones, but I really hope the current owners succeed and have do really well.
They're out of Austin. Micronutrients like B12 and iron, and their classic protein bars are great before a workout. So you want to do it before a workout. They've got a 3-star Michelin chef. So if you know about the Michelin ratings, they're pretty hard. Is 3 the highest? So they have the highest star. Like that's like French Laundry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this guy.
London, south of London.
Yeah, amazing.
They're like I said, the protein bars are low in sugar, high in fiber. High come in flavors like sea salt, vinegar, Texas barbecue.
Great with a marg
for a while. Crickets provide nutrition similar to livestock with a fraction of the impact to land, water, and CO2 ruining the environment. Maybe we'll just start eating crickets. If you want to get 15% off, use the code WODcast at checkout. And I'd love a very interesting take. I tried it when Dylan was here. It's great. John can testify.
And like first bite, you're like, oh, this tastes totally normal and good.
He's creating different tastes and things that she likes and doesn't like. Think about all the things you've found acceptable, because I'm trying to switch over, but I should be. And why have I created that stigma if I don't want to eat organ?
That has calf's liver on the menu, and they're cooking it in a way that isn't just covered with flour. Order it at a restaurant.
I used to eat at a restaurant in New York City. Sometimes it's, fried chicken and waffles or whatever, but they had things like skate, which I caught a skate once fishing, and
they look like
blah, blah, blah. So I go in and I see in Blue Ribbon, they have skate on the menu, and I'm shit-faced. And I'm like, skate? You guys cooked skate? This is the worst fish in the ocean.
Yeah.
And they were like, ate sushi. I'd be like, eel? Okay.
Well, a good rule of thumb when you're picking something on the menu is that if there's something really weird on the menu, it's probably pretty.
Yeah. Well, it ended up being one of the best. Blue Ribbon. I would just order whatever interesting thing was on the menu.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, organ meats are great to get in your diet more.
Talked about. And, we got all into fish oil, and I did fish oil for a while. I stopped doing fish oil and started doing just fish.
Just eat sardines.
Just
eat some sardines or mackerel or something.
And
Mackerel's less fishy than sardines.
Right. And I would just eat a lot of fish. And I was like, do I need to go to cod liver oil? It sounds like it's amazing.
So I was on this panel. So here in, the west side of Los Angeles, which is, for those who don't know, like...
he'll be eating his salad, and it'll just be a salad. And he'll have to, have, 5 pounds of it to get reasons. He did it he believes it's healthier.
Right.
And he's like, let me just have a taste of it. And he's like, I'm not religious about it's not dogmatic. Taste. But I always show him a pic. Whose physique would you rather have?
That's right.
And it's the same with a vegan and a meat eater. I'm sorry. I believe we live in a world where there's alphas and there's betas. And you can be you're going to get crushed. You're going to get crushed. So
if you bring up this argument when talking to a vegetarian,
because I think there's 1 or 2 in the NFL. Yeah, right. But there.
It and with reproduction, growing kids, a top tier athlete, and
I've done my research enough to know exactly why, but I believe that I did a good enough job listening and being I legitimately care about my health and will do what's best, but it's like I'm a judge. And listening to Kresser against the other, and I just
way or like area of life, I use evolution.
Mhm.
You know, I say first that lots of different the circadian rhythm of lots of different animals, and so with eating meat, it's like, okay, lions are carnivores and they eat almost all day every day, because that's how it's got to work. And there'll be if a carnivore is eating intestines of an animal and there's partially digested plant matter, there's some rotting fruit on the ground, they might be having our ideologies. But that's the first pass approach in omnivorous fashion. We're definitely, when I hear the carnivore people saying that we have evolved to be carnivores, I don't think that.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Who was talking about Matty Porto?
No.
He's seasonal and about like you're saying, where did you grow up and how much sunlight. You grew up in the islands, or your genes come from the islands, you're going to demand more coconut oil. You're going to demand things when raising my daughter. There's always these like parental arguments, or we get things from and my wife and I just had the discussion one time, and they did it for heat, they did it for comfort, safety, everything. And I was like, this can't be wrong.
There is a very normal reason why you're alone in the dark.
Yeah,
that is a very normal.
And her door's open, and our door's open, and if she feels scared, she has carte blanche. She can come running in and jump in bed with us, and I never want her to feel insecure.
Yeah,
and people go, oh, she'll be fine.
Right.
Lots of self. Put their kid in their room already. And,
here, let me just put you in this large box.
Yeah, and lock you in.
Oof, that sounds
and
terrible.
They were like, yeah, she's learning well, and I'm like, oh.
Is you don't want to be drinking alcohol.
Very, very rarely did it because of that whole rollover thing. But there were so many people that told us that do that. There's something.
And if you're 200 pounds overweight and you drink a lot, you shouldn't be co-sleeping.
Yeah. But there were so many nights she slept in a little crib in our room, or there was all of the
technology and civilization and
phase of this is how do we remove ourselves from technology, and how much of it is happening.
And those things have brought me a lot of good things. There's a lot of things that have gone right for me. All I have to do to feel bad is scroll through Instagram. Yep.
And that makes, if I go through it, it becomes all these things, and I just start going, I'm getting too old to do that now. I could never do
myself feel this way. It's counterproductive.
Yeah.
It's not advancing any goal.
I'm so glad I'm out of that part of it.
Oh, the likes.
Posting those and getting the likes.
Oh, the dopamine hits.
The dopamine, this needs to be talked about more and more, where it's all they know, so it's completely acceptable.
Right.
So they're not going to be able to,
they don't know anything different.
Where I do a lot, I'll say, you know what, I'm going to stay off my phone today. I'm going to go out into the mountains. I'm not going to take my phone with me. I'm just going to hike and that's part of, it's like us having running water.
Right.
And so epidemics of like these shootings, there has creating the anxiety, depression, which is causing the pharmaceutical drugs, which is affecting their
end up, living in a big city is the loneliest place to live. Raged on Twitter, and it ends up, if you're not in a good spot, it ends up being a really toxic stew. Goddamn, things are going really well, and not everything's going perfect. Really good. I have a lot to be grateful for. And if I'm allowing myself to be driven into negative emotions by this bullshit, Well, when Elon Musk was on Rogan's podcast, he was talking about how these and they want to have some like
element of it is from how many likes you get to how many subscribers. This is creative. This is interesting.
Right.
We in journalism, how you're not seeing, in my opinion,
harder to do big long-term projects if you're always like something might do something like that. You go off into the woods and you build it. And I think people are dissuaded.
It's a really, really ugly thing, and it's weird because it's caused people to perform and compete and up the level. But I also,
if people people don't care when people they do it to win. They do it because they're on the team, and that's more important. Some people are going to overshoot. So it's like it's a correction. And one of our recent investments.
Great idea.
Read a book for 15 minutes.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, and there's
it all started with, we had an idea of like, what's the ultimate workout? What's the ultimate burpee pull-ups and thrusters? And it was burpee pull-ups. So it was like Fran, burpee pull-up, how well. And that's the good thing about the internet is you see the progress. Some of them just like freaked us out by how well they did it.
Yeah.
We called it the WODcast workout. But then we just do 50. And I'll be honest, I'm blocking out at the top. I did it during my Wim Hof thing when I did hyperventilated or whatever I did.
Right.
But I would like
ability piece is a big deal, and it's one of the only apps I've ever used where I am a better person, really powerful.
Yeah.
Problem is, like, sometimes I'm not good at that, and I need something to like bootstrap my discipline.
One that basically counts all your calories. Then I think it's called just 1 week to see where they stand.
Right.
Map my run. Any of the ones hard. But the one I love that Brian McKenzie introduced me to was the apnea trainer. You know, headphones. Do it before you go to bed. Do it, you know, like I said, on a plane, in a car. I don't think there's anything better in this world to lowering your stress than that.
Yeah. Out on Android.
Okay.
You know, next year sometime.
Okay, interesting. I'm gonna
because you do a short video check-in. You do like an Instagram style check-in.
Okay.
And that validates that
he's 12, and he did his work. Keep going. So I give him a workout every single day.
Wow.
He texts me. I give him the workout back. Oh, but it was too hard. What do I do tomorrow? I'm like, same workout. I'm such a dick. I'll go see.
It's such a great role. It's like none of the responsibility. And like if you need no idea.
What time is it?
It's almost 7:30.
Oh geez, I got to get moving. That's my show where we it just gets out of control. A lot of drinking, a lot of You thought you were doing the bingo show today? Or on YouTube now. YouTube. And if somebody's got an idea,
they can contact me on my website. It's wildventures.vc. There's a contact form or email.
If they're watching this and they have, hey, this sounds like something I'd put my money in.
I'm allowed to let people know that it exists, but I'm not out here. But the platform is only for accredited investors, and that's like an SEC designation, the Wild Venture Syndicate, and we just want people who have the right values. And now we do it on a deal-by-deal basis. So I present a deal to the group, them, and do a lot of diligence on and get enough people. And the nice thing is people can come in pretty much for whatever check.
Yep.
I realize it's still a lot of money. But will go to zero. The amount of money that people, if they do invest in something.
I've raised money for films. And when I'm around that you want to play with, that you were thinking, I'm going to go to Vegas and gamble.
Right.
And my product, we're probably going to make some money together. But if you don't give me your money.
Spend a whole hour on how to do venture capital right, how to assemble a portfolio. Only invest. Both are valid ways of doing it. But a lot of people early on, they get excited. And then there's fear of missing out. Like, oh, this is the last chance. And hopefully, or like, we're good at like we're doing well.
Right.
People look at our portfolio and they're like,
hey, this is a good product. You know, we should talk about.
Yeah, my other conferences in food and beverage, you know, the product should taste good for some of our influencers. So we take that part really seriously. Yeah. But the other thing is we don't do a lot of it. Like often it's, hey, wonderful. Like you succeeded and I'm happy for you.
Just because you're electric poke.
Nicer mechanism to turn ocean water into gold. It was like
find them there.
Instagram.
I want to thank EXO. Try their cricket protein, Myopucks for what's it called? Patreon. Patreon.com/yours.
All right.
Take your take this shit. Take everything. Take care of yourself. Don't get. Honestly, it's so important. I know Olympians that use these because they're smart enough. They're great.
Thrive Market for park the bingo bus in their parking lot.
We're in Thrive Market's parking. Do everything. Armin and Scott and I are trying to figure out what we're going to do with the Instagram page. Probably going to have like a collective review and comment on iTunes, and hit us up on Patreon, and send me a message anytime. We just left early. We need someone to hold the fort down, but Machete's you. Hold on. So don't. Oh man, your fans are terrible. Yeah, it was one.